Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 45th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today, we will be discussing everything I watched in June. I didn't get to watch as many as normal because I've had to go out of town a little bit more than usual, but I still got a bunch for you. Some rewatches and some new ones, and I'm going to give a score out of 10 again, like I did last month. So let's get right into what I watched in June. The Last Picture Show, 1971, directed by Peter Bogdanovich. This film is probably one of the best coming of age stories you're going to find. It's got a young Jeff Bridges in it, young Sybil Shepherd. You got Ellen Burstyn's in this. There's some young stars in here. This movie is about a small town in Texas and a few high school kids, and pretty much what they go through as this small town is starting to die and resources are starting to get cut off. They're growing up. They're having relationships. They're having issues with each other. All kinds of things. There's a ton of great themes in this film. And honestly, it's one of the best high school films of all time. I have my top 20 best high school movies coming up soon, and this may make an appearance. So definitely would recommend. Very great film. Honestly, I'm gonna have to give this a solid 8.8 out of 10. The Kingsman, 2014, directed by Matthew Vaughn. Insane that it took me this long to see this movie. Yeah, guys, this is my first watch with this one. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that because I remember all the hype around it when it came out, but this movie is great. It's about a young kid whose father dies, and he's a part of the Kingsmen, which is a group of gentlemen who essentially like a secret kind of organization. They solve crimes and things like that. But this movie is fun, action packed. You get an interesting performance from Sam Jackson. He plays a cool little villain. Colin Firth gives a great performance in this movie. It's funny, man. It's got the dude. God, I can't think of his name right now. The guy who plays Elton John in Rocket Man. He's the lead. And he's great, man. He's been great. I think he's in the new Tetris movie too. I mean, Kingsman was awesome, man. Funny, action packed. I loved it. I'm gonna give Kingsman a 7.9 out of 10, and I would highly recommend this to action fans for sure. The Night is Short. Walk On Girl, 2018, directed by Masaki Yuasa. Now, this is an anime film. This is a different anime film, different art style. And it's about a young girl who literally is having a night on the town, and her and everyone that she meets are getting hammered, drunk. This is a drinking movie. And I didn't realize that going into it, but this movie's all about drinking. And if you like having some drinks and watching films, definitely grab a couple of friends, throw this one on. I mean, it's a good movie. It was fun. It had some funny little parts, cute little story. Uh, it's nothing insane. It's not the best anime movie I watched in the last couple months, but it's definitely worth a watch if you're an anime fan or if you're a drinking fan. I'm going to give The Night is Short, Walk On Girl a 6.9 out of 10. Our Souls at Night, 2017, directed by Wrights Barda. Well, this movie, a little romance film starring two legends of the acting game. My absolute love, Miss Jane Fonda, who to this day at 85 years old, I just still adore so much. And legendary Robert Redford. These two have done a bunch of movies together. And their chemistry is still the same over all these years. This was a pretty decent watch. It's a Netflix movie. It's about Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. They both have lost their spouses, and they decide that they should spend time together. And the movie doesn't quite go the way you would think it would, which I did appreciate about it. It's not the best film ever, but if you are a sappy romance fan, definitely check it out. It's got great acting in it, of course, with the heavyweights we got in here. I'd recommend it for romance fans only. Guys who like action movies, this one ain't for you. I'm going to give Our Souls at Night a 6.7 out of 10. Santa Sangre, 1989, directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky. Well, first thing I'm going to say is last month I discussed The Holy Mountain, or maybe it was a month before that, whichever. I discussed The Holy Mountain, and I absolutely love that film. I adored it. And I absolutely loved and adored this film even more than that. Alejandro Jodorowsky is an absolute genius. I have no clue what goes through this guy's head, but this movie was absolutely amazing. Flooded with his signature style, costumes, music, all that great stuff. But this film follows a very nice story, unlike some of the other films that I've watched from him. I'd say so far out of all the films I've watched from him, this is his most straightforward. It's about a young kid who grows up in the circus, and I'm just going to tell you this happens early on. His parents die, and he grows up in an institution, and he eventually starts seeing things. And I'm not going to tell you guys this film because I absolutely recommend this to everyone, especially horror fans. This is a horror film, but it's one of the coolest, most stylized horror films I've ever seen. I absolutely love this film. I was mesmerized. Mesmerized. I'm going to give Santa Sangre a 9 out of 10. Blood In, Blood Out, 1993, directed by Taylor Hackford. Now, I had seen not all of this movie, but I seen a fat chunk of it when I was younger, and I never got to finish it. So I finally got to finish it. I had to search high and low to get this movie, but I did get it cheap, and I'm glad I own it now. It was really good. It's about a young, a half white, half Mexican guy coming up in California, and he's struggling with his identity because he is submerged in Mexican gang culture. And he struggles with this because, he's not accepted fully by one side and not fully accepted by the other. But he ends up kind of going off the rails. And it's a tale about him and his cousins. And it's a great film. I will say this, though. I watched the director's cut. And it is 3+ hours long, but it flows. It does flow by. The ending of this film just bothered me a little bit. It's not a bad ending. It's just when it ended, I expected like 10 or 15 more minutes. I don't know. That was just me. But overall, I adored this film. I thought it was a great gang movie, quite underrated, a big cult classic in the Mexican community. I am going to give Blood In, Blood Out a 8 out of 10. El Topo, 1970, directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky. Guys, I am on a kick with this guy's movies, and I've loved every single one of them I've watched. El Topo is a Western, actually. They call it an acid Western, and if you watch it, you will absolutely understand why. This was one of John Lennon's favorite movies, and actually the film that made him want to finance The Holy Mountain. El Topo follows a cowboy, essentially, and kind of his journey through. I'm going to be honest, this movie's kind of hard to explain without telling you what happens. We'll just put it like this. It's about a cowboy and a son, and this cowboy kind of goes on I guess I'll call it a self-fulfilling journey. We'll leave it at that. This movie is trippy. It's weird. It's out there. It's got his style all over it, and I loved every minute of it. It's hard to recommend this one because it is trippy. But if you like just seeing stuff you've never seen in films, definitely watch this. I'm gonna give El Topo a 9 out of 10, man. I love it. 5 centimeters per second. 2007. Directed by Makoto Shinkai. Another anime film, another Makoto Shinkai film. I've been watching tons of this dude's movies lately. This film was pretty good. It's not his best. It's a short film. It's only an hour long. It's basically broken up into 3 distinct stories about the loves in this one guy's life. And I actually love the style and the way the story was presented, but I felt like each story got no, that's not true. I think the second story was the best. I thought the ending was kind of weak, though. But overall, it was decent. It was a decent watch. It's it's nothing like his crazy big films, like his newer films, like Sesame and Your Name and all that, and Weathering with You and stuff. But if you're a Makoto Shinkai fan, if you're an anime fan, if you're a J drama fan, definitely check this out. But I couldn't recommend it to everyone, but I did enjoy it. So I'm gonna give 5 centimeters per second a 6.8 out of 10. Speed, 1994, directed by Jan de Bont. Speed, listen, Speed should not be as good as it is, okay? Let's keep it real. The concept of Speed is so dumb. It really is. But god damn it, it works. It's a fun movie. If you like action films, especially 90s action films, you will have a blast with Speed. It's a fun boy. I know I'd seen it when I was younger, but I didn't remember a damn thing. The beginning though, the opening scene when they're dealing with the hostages on the elevator is freaking great. I love that scene. Very tense. Keanu Reeves is being Keanu Reeves. You get a nice little performance from Sandra Bullock, super young. Most of you guys have probably seen Speed. Speed's a fun one. If you're an action fan, 90s fan, definitely would recommend it. I'm gonna give Speed a 7 out of 10. Pretty in Pink, 1986, directed by Howard Deutsch, written by the legendary John Hughes. Pretty in Pink, I actually did a whole review on this film. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll link it in the description because I did do a whole review on this film. Pretty in Pink was decent. It's not my favorite John Hughes film. It's not my favorite 80s high school film. I had to rewatch it. I've seen it a long time ago, but I had to rewatch it because, like I said, I'm doing my favorite high school or the top 20 high school movies all time. And I will tell you right now, Pretty in Pink probably won't be making the list. It's not a bad film. It's a decent film. It's about a girl who. It's a movie about social class, honestly. That's the main theme of this film is social class. But it's a film about a girl who she honestly, she's middle class. Let's keep it real. Like they portray her like she's freaking dirt poor. She's not. But in comparison to some of the other people in town, she's of lower income. And she falls in love with a rich guy. And of course, it's a typical cliche trope. If you've seen Pretty in Pink, you know what it is. It's not a bad film. It's a decent watch. I enjoyed, what's his name? John Cryer. I enjoyed him in this film, Ducky. I know a lot of people didn't like his performance, but I thought it was actually the best part of the movie. So I would recommend Pretty in Pink Pretty in Pink to any high school fans, teen 80s fans. If you like 80s movies, it's got that vibe all over it, style all over it. If you're a Molly Ringwald fan, of course, check it out. It's a decent watch. And I believe when I reviewed it, I gave it a 6.8. And thinking about it now, I think that's where I'm going to stay. I'll stay at a 6.8. Honestly, maybe a 6.7, but it's not bad. Deep Cover, 1992, directed by Bill Duke. Okay, so Deep Cover is a film that I swore I saw when I was a kid, and somehow I think it missed me, and I'm really upset that it took me this long to find this film. This movie was one of the biggest surprise watches of the month. I was on a trip for work, and I got back really late, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna watch a couple of films though, because I was still awake." And I put this on. And my lord, I'm so glad I did. This film stars Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum. And Lawrence Fishburne is an undercover cop, and he ends up working with Jeff Goldblum, who is a shady drug dealing lawyer. And Lawrence Fishburne gets caught up in the criminal underworld. That's all I'm going to tell you about this film. But this film was awesome. Good action, good story, good acting. Bill Duke comes out of nowhere with a great direction. If you guys don't know who Bill Duke is, he's the black guy who gets the 3 laser beams put on his face in the Terminator and gets his face blown off. Or not the Terminator, sorry, Predator. Guys, this movie's awesome. It's probably my favorite Jeff Goldblum performance, more than The Fly, more than Jurassic Park. I loved him in this. And probably next to Morpheus, this might be my favorite Lawrence Fishburne performance. I absolutely love this film, so much so I went and bought the Criterion right after I watched it. And the Criterion's awesome, guys. You should definitely check that out. this film is great. I really loved it. You know, it hit me, resonated with me personally. So I'm probably gonna praise this film a lot more than your average critic. And not that I'm a critic, but your average person. But I gotta give Deep Cover 8.3 out of 10. Vagabond, 1985, directed by Agnes Varda. This is a French film that I've been wanting to watch for a while. Checked it out on Criterion Channel. Looks gorgeous, man. Looks beautiful. I thought the film was good. It reminded me of another French film called Rosetta. That film's about a young girl who just wants a job. This film, Vagabond, literally the title tells you off. You know what a vagabond is? It's about a girl that's just drifting along life and hitchhiking rides and camping out and living outside and just being as free as she can be. But the film is brilliant because it shows you exactly what that kind of life will lead to eventually. Although I didn't adore this film as much as I thought I would, I didn't love this film as much as I thought I would. I did think it was brilliant though, and I did think it was very well acted. I thought it was a good story, and I did enjoy it. It was entertaining, but I won't say that it's spectacular. I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people have said it's one of the best movies of all time. And if you have it on your list, I can understand that. But I just was expecting a little bit more, but I truthfully couldn't tell you what that is. I just went into this film with high expectations and, it was good, but I didn't love it. So overall, I'm going to give Vagabond a 7.4 out of 10. Lethal Weapon 3, 1992, directed by Richard Donner. Richard Donner might be the most underrated director of all time. Don't hear his name come up too much when you talk about best directors. He's done some great work. Lethal Weapon 3 might be the weakest of the three. I don't know. A lot of people go back and forth between 3 and 4. For me, I would say it's probably the weakest of the three. But if this is the weakest film out of 4, dude, your franchise is probably pretty good. Lethal Weapon 3 is silly. It's a little over the top. But gosh damn it, it's just a fun time, man. I have so much fun with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover in these films. Their chemistry alone makes all these films worth watching. This is a great franchise, and this is a fun film. It's just expanding on the story of Lethal Weapon. Joe Pesci's back. I can't say it's the best one, but I still had a great time with it. If you're a Lethal Weapon fan, obviously you know what it is, but I would recommend this to action fans. But I would say definitely watch 1 and 2 first so you can grow with these characters a little bit, because then you'll take in 3 without being so critical. Overall, I'm going to give Lethal Weapon 3 a 6.9 out of 10. But I loved it still. On an enjoyment scale, it probably would get like a 7.5. Across the Spiderverse, 2023, directed by a whole bunch of dudes. I have a whole review on this film, so I'll also link that below if you're interested. It's Across the Spiderverse, man. End of the Spiderverse is one of the best animated films that come out in the last, 10 years. And Across the Spiderverse is probably the next. I don't know. You got Inside Out in there. There's a couple others, but it's up there. I had a great time with Across the Spider-Verse, despite the mishap I had in the movie theater. Watch my review to hear about that. If you enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse, you're going to enjoy this. The animation is on 100. It's a continuation of Miles Morales' story as Spider-Man, and it's fantastic. The voice acting is great. The animation is on 1,000. The action is good. It paces very well. I had a great time with it. I cannot wait for the next one. When I reviewed this film, I believe I scored it I want to say I gave it maybe an 8.2 or 3, maybe 8.5. I really don't remember. But right now, going over it, thinking about it, I'm going to give it an 8.7 out of 10. Ocean's 11, 2001, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Seen this movie before, but, I had to discuss it because I just love it so much. Ocean's 11 is Probably a top 5 heist movie, man. It really is. I love Ocean's 11 so much. It's funny, it's well-paced, it's got good twists and turns. The cast is phenomenal. George, Brad, Bernie Mac, Don Cheadle, everyone is phenomenal. You even got fun little performances from Scott Conn and Casey Affleck. This movie is freaking great, man. It's a great if you like heist movies, you will love this movie. So for heist fans, comedy fans, I would absolutely recommend this if you've never seen it. Most people have seen this by now, but it's a great film. So I gotta give Ocean's 11. I give it an 8.8, man. I freaking love it. It's great. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, 2005, directed by Shane Black. Speaking of Lethal Weapon, Shane Black, he wrote those films, or at least the first two. I don't know if he came back for 4 and wrote it. I don't think he did, actually. No, he didn't. He wrote the first 2. And Shane Black is an incredible, incredible writer. But he's also a great director. You know, if you've seen The Nice Guys, you know, if you've seen this, Shane Black, I'm pretty sure he directed Molly's Game too, another banger. So Shane Black is extremely talented. He was born to be in films. This film is great, man. It's funny. It's hilarious. Shane Black is known for his humor. Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer have some great chemistry. They're funny. I love this film. I thought it was fun. It's an over-the-top story. Robert Downey Jr. is an accidental actor who gets caught up in some crazy little crime, and a lot of crazy stuff ends up happening to him and Val Kilmer. And it's just a fun time ride, man. If you watched Shane Black films before, you'll get this. If you like them, this will be your speed. So I'm going to give Kiss Kiss Bang Bang a 7.7 out of 10. White Men Can't Jump, 1992. Not that new one. Directed by Ron Shelton. White Man Can't Jump is a good 90s sports movie, man. I love sports movies. I love 90s movies. So you combine the two, it's got magic. Wesley and Woody are great in this film. They had good chemistry. I love Wesley Snipes, man. I wish his career would have went a little bit better. He didn't go to jail and stuff like that because he really is a great actor and he is really in some good movies. And same thing with Woody. Woody's been one of our most reliable guys for the last 30 plus years. You know what I mean? He's been going hard. So this film is a good story about 2 basketball hustlers who are just trying to make some money to both better their lives. And they have a good time doing it. It's funny. It's got some funny little race jokes in it. You know, it's got the little racial thing going on in there, but it's not too much to where it would turn anyone off or anything. You know, it's relevant to the situations and the time period and things like that. It's a good film, man. I had a lot of fun with White Man Can't Jump. I would definitely recommend this movie to you, man. Especially if you like sports movies, comedies. It's a good one. Overall, I'm going to give White Men Can't Jump 7.2 out of 10. The Outsiders, 1983, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Now everyone's seen this movie. I've seen this movie before as well. Outsiders is so good, man. It's a great story about, I believe it's early 60s, some greaser kids. And, it's another social class film. They get into it with the socialists who are the rich kids, and problems arrive from that. And a couple of the greasers end up doing some stuff that they gotta, get out and get on the run for. This film is great. The book is good. The movie's just as good, if you ask me. You got a bunch of young stars in here, man. You got a young Emilio Estevez, young Tom Cruise, young Patrick Swayze, young what's the guy's name from Parks and Rec? Chris Traeger, what's his name? Rob Lowe. Sorry, you got young Rob Lowe. What's his name? Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. He's in this, man. Everybody in this movie. It's a great film. I had a great time with Matt Dillon, my favorite character. He's in it. He was the best, man. Dally's my man's. So everybody's seen The Outsiders. I highly recommend. I can recommend this movie to anybody, I believe. I'm gonna give The Outsiders a 7.8 out of 10. A Silent Voice, 2017, directed by Naoko Yamada. Another anime film. I've seen Silent Voice before. Rewatched it. It's been a few years, but It holds up still to this day. It's still probably one of the best anime movies to come out in the last 10 years. Silent Voice is a film about a young deaf girl and a guy who ends up bullying her, but later in life, they end up becoming friends and reconciling. And things get complicated in both of their lives because of this. And this film, it hits your emotions. It's definitely a J drama. It hits all the beats. It tugs on your heartstrings. It's a great film. I absolutely adore this film. I got it on Steelbook, you know. I think it's great. This is an anime film I really would recommend to anyone if you like dramas, if you're into good dramas. It's a good high school film too, honestly. But I'm not putting any animated films on my best high school list, so sorry. But I'm going to give a Silent Voice an 8.6 out of 10. Asteroid City 2023, directed by the great Wes Anderson. Asteroid City, man, I reviewed this film as well. I'll have this link for you too if you want to check that out. Asteroid City it's not the best Wes movie, but gosh dang it, it's stylish, man. It's got everybody under the sun. Name an actor, they're probably in this movie. So many actors in this movie. This film is about it follows a few different storylines, but it's really about all these people who are in Asteroid City and they're kind of quarantined there for a little bit. And certain events go on in these people's lives. And just like any other Wes film, it follows Wes's formula to a T. But just like any other West film, it's got its funny dialogue. It's smooth, it's clean, it's crisp, it's so neat and tidy. Honestly, this film might be too neat and tidy. It's so clean. Everything is just so perfectly placed. And like, there's not a freaking fixture out of place in this film. But you get some great performances from Jason Schwartzman and Scarlett Johansson. Uh, when I came out the theater of this film, I wasn't blown away. But after I sat on it a little bit, I do appreciate this film and I did enjoy it and I like it. I'm very excited to watch it again, but it's out of theaters. It's still pretty hard to put my finger on how I truly feel about this film without watching it again. It's one of those. It definitely is going to require another viewing. So I'm going to give Asteroid City as it stands a 7.4 out of 10. Donnie Brasco, 1997, directed by Mike Newell. Johnny Depp and Al Pacino, what more do you want? Probably one of my favorite Pacino performances is Lefty. Donnie Brasco, I believe this is actually based on a true story, is the story of an undercover FBI agent who ends up getting super deep in the criminal underworld and having to sever a really important friendship. I would highly recommend this film to gangster film fans, drug cartel fans, if you like crime movies, this is right up your alley. It's well acted. Michael Madsen's in this. It's got a bunch of actors you know. It's a fun time. I enjoyed it a lot. And what I liked about it, it's a gangster movie where you feel how gangster it is, but there's not a ton of like violence, or there's a couple scenes, but not a ton of violence, not a ton of craziness. It's just a great story with great acting. I really enjoyed this film. Highly recommend. I'm going to give Donnie Brasco a solid 8 out of 10. She's the Man, 2006, directed by Andy Fickman. Guys, give me a second. Let me talk about She's the Man. First things first, I had seen this movie a long time ago when it first came out, man. That was a while ago. This movie's almost 20 years old. I've forgotten about this movie. I really did. But I wanted to go back and watch it for my research for my high school films. Guys, I'm here to tell you this movie is funny as fuck. I was dying. I was laughing so much. I probably like this movie should absolutely not be as good as it is. It really, really shouldn't. This is the pure definition of a film that shouldn't be as good as it is. This movie, I was dying, man. Amanda Bynes gives possibly one of the most underrated comedic performances of all time, playing a dual role. She plays a woman and a boy, and she does them both so well. And it's like, even though you're watching her in this movie and you're like, you know it's her, and you know it's like you're like, man, the whole time you're like, I just don't know if this girl would confuse me to make me think she's a guy. Not even necessarily. I would say her looks. If I saw her, I'd be like, listen, you are one of the prettiest soft featured men I've ever met. You know what I mean? But there are guys out there like that just have that feminine kind of look to them. So it's not out of the realms of reality, but some flags would go up for me. But gosh darn it, her charisma is just it just carries this film through. And Channing Tatum given a very early funny performance. I laughed so much at this movie. This movie was awesome. So it's really hard to score it. I would recommend this movie to anyone. This is a good time watch for somebody who just, if you're having a bad day, throw this movie on. I'm going to overall, I don't even know how to score this movie. I'm going to give it 2 scores. The main score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But if we're talking based on my enjoyment of this film and how much I just had a great time with it and got to escape for an hour and 45, I got to give it a solid 8.5, man. So I'm highly recommending She's a Man. Lethal Weapon 4, 1998, directed by Richard Donner. Lethal Weapon 4 is funny, man. I don't care what nobody says. People can hate on this movie all they want. They can say it's the weakest of the franchise. I don't care. I like this movie a lot. It's funny. I've seen this movie. I saw it a bunch when I was a kid, but I just ran through the Lethal Weapon series. So seeing it again, it's been a while. But man, it's still so funny. The action, of course, is over the top, but I think Jet Li gave great performance and played a great villain in this movie. I had a good time going on a ride with Murtaugh Riggs. I love these dudes. I love these characters. They're great characters. And I mean, if you this is the a great American film. And this is a great American franchise. And it's just one to sit back and relax to. If you were ever gonna just take a whole day and bang out 4 movies in a row, all from one franchise, Lethal Weapon is definitely a great pick. So overall, I'm gonna give Lethal Weapon 4 a 7 out of 10. But for enjoyment, definitely be up in the mid 8s. Capernaum, 2018, directed by Nadine Labaki. It's a Lebanese film here. Oh man, this movie was absolutely amazing. Now, I've seen this before. I'd already seen this, but I watched it again because I want to see it. Man, this movie blew me away even more the second time. First of all, the acting in this movie, especially by the lead, I believe he was 12 years old. No acting experience. This kid is phenomenal. He's funny, he's hard, he grips your heartstrings. This film is about a young boy who is growing up in straight poverty, who has terrible parents, and he wants to sue them for how his life turned out. And they are, man, he ends up going on a journey in this movie, a journey. And it's a good one. It's a crazy one. This film it's a hard drama. It's not, there's some funny parts. You're going to laugh at some of the stuff the kid says, but this is not a funny movie. But God, it's a beautifully shot film. It's well acted. It's well directed. It is powerful. This is a film why I preach the importance of world cinema, foreign language cinema. Do not shut yourself off to films that aren't in English. If you're watching this and you're an English speaker, this was an amazing film. I would highly recommend this movie to anyone. I'm going to give Capernaum a 9 out of 10. Last but not least, Almost Famous 2000, directed by Cameron Crowe. Cameron Crowe is a great director. Singles, Jerry Maguire, of course, Almost Famous. I love this film. I've seen this film a few times, but I ain't watched it in probably well over 10 years. So wanted to revisit it. I love this movie. And I watched the bootleg cut on Blu-ray. It's long. It's almost 3 hours. Didn't feel long at all. Enjoyed every minute of it. Never seen the bootleg cut before, so it was nice to see some of the stuff he added. It flowed, man. I love this movie. It's about a young boy who wants to be a music rock journalist, and he ends up going on tour with an up and coming band and just learning a lot about himself, life, and what the road's like and how people can really be. And I think this film is a film everyone should check out. If you love music, if you love the 70s, 60s vibe, oh my god, check this movie out. It's absolutely amazing. It's well acted, it's well written. I adore this film. This is a film you can throw on anytime and I'll kick back and have a good time with. I'm going to give Almost Famous 8.7 out of 10. Guys, that is it. Thank you so much for checking out what I watched in June. I know these videos run a little bit long, but I gotta talk, man. Guys, do me a huge favor. If you got this far, slap the like button and subscribe. Help me out. Trying to grow here, man. Want to reach a larger audience and have these discussions with you guys. Guys, if there is a film that you would like me to review, just let me know in the comments below. I'll do it with pleasure. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.